The day I got my girlfriend's childhood friend's HIV diagnosis report, she was clapping for love with him in our wedding room. I didn't rush to stop her as I did in my previous life. Instead, I pretended not to know anything and turned around to tear the physical examination report to pieces. In my previous life, I rushed in to save my girlfriend Sari and told her that Alex was suffering from AIDS. Alex was so ashamed that she rushed out of the door and unfortunately died in a car accident. Sari said he didn't blame me, but on the wedding day, he knocked me unconscious and threw me onto the highway. He live-streamed the whole process of how I was hit by those cars, and even cursed me sarcastically. It was all because of you. If you hadn't slandered Alex, he wouldn't have run out and been hit and killed by the car. Don't you like to fight with him? Then I won, yet you experienced the fear and despair he felt when he was in the car accident before you die. My heart was torn apart. Only on my deathbed did I realize how much she hated me. Since that's the case, this time LV decided to respect her fate and fulfill their deep love of living and dying together. I was just about to speak. From the bedroom came an embarrassing gasp. Sari lost control of her emotions and cried, "I will surely find a way to cure your illness. Nothing bad will happen to you." Alex held back the tears in her eyes with a heart full of concern and comforted her softly. "Baby, my illness can't be cured. When I die, you will marry Wang Lin. He will take good care of you for me." Sari shook his head sorrowfully. "Didn't you say you would marry me? You must get better. I was still waiting for you to marry me." I sneered and lifted my leg to leave, not wanting to stay in this place that disgusted me for a moment. Every time I heard her voice, I would recall how she had deceived me by saying that Alex was just the neighbor brother we grew up with since childhood, and how she had coaxed me into getting Alex to move into the wedding house that my parents had just prepared for me. He slept in my master bedroom. Later, in order to avenge Alex, he even plotted to kill me with his own hands. She didn't believe that Alex had AIDS at all. She even thought that I was jealous of her kindness to Alex and deliberately forged the physical examination report to deceive her, which led to Alex's tragic death. Our 5-year relationship couldn't win him even a bit of trust. My steps became faster and faster, and my breathing became more and more rapid. It was not until the door opened that I heaved a sigh of relief, but before I could recover, out of the corner of the eye, I caught a glimpse of the sunflowers on the shoe cabinet. In his previous life, Sari had planted all these flowers in front of Alex's tomb, symbolizing a new life for him. Looking at the fiery red petals like the sun, my stomach was churning and I couldn't help but retch. My mind was filled with memories of my death. Sari, with bloodshot eyes, said to me vainly, "Don't think that death is free. Even if you turn to ashes, I still have a way for you to apologize to Alex." Later, she really did as she said. After I was crushed to death by a car, she mashed my body into meat, nourishing the flowers in Alex's cemetery, exchanging my death for his new life. What an ironic and beautiful wish. I forced myself to get home despite feeling unwell. The moment I saw my parents, my eyes instantly welled up with tears. I hugged them tightly. Seeing this, my mother smiled and teased, saying that a man doesn't cry easily. "Why did you start crying as soon as you got home?" A young man who was almost married. If his wife saw this, wouldn't she laugh at him? But how could I not cry? In my previous life, after I died, I witnessed my mother's tragic death with my own eyes. She was so furious that she suddenly had a heart attack and passed away. My father did this to seek justice for me. I was tricked by Sari and had my hands and feet broken. I was thrown in an alley and eventually devoured by wild dogs. I thought I would never see them again, but now they were standing right in front of me. This time, I would never let Sari hurt them again. I held back my grief and said to them, "Mom and Dad, I don't want to marry Sari anymore." My mom was stunned for a moment. When asked why, I didn't dare to tell them the truth to worry them. I could only shake my head and say I no longer liked her. My mom was so angry that she laughed and scolded me for being indecisive, saying that a grown man could run away on the eve of the wedding and what to do with her girl. But she didn't know that Sari would be the death warrant for our family in the future. Fortunately, my dad frowned and thought for a moment that I still agreed. "If you don't want to marry, then don't. With your conditions, don't be afraid of not finding a wife. I've been disliking that woman for a long time. This marriage is off. I'll find a better one for you after some time." I smiled and agreed. But in my heart, I had a vague feeling that my dad didn't seem to like Sari that much from the very beginning. When he learned that I was going to marry her before, he had tried to dissuade me many times. If it weren't for my insistence, he might have taken her away long ago. Now that I think about it, the stupid things I did before were extremely ridiculous. Breaking off the engagement was far from enough for me. I also asked my dad to stop all his investments in Sari and privately contacted an important partner of her company. She had relied on a supposed external partnership back then. Only by secretly eroding our family's business to strengthen our own power can we have the ability to retaliate against us. This time I will never give her another chance. Someone as ruthless as her point one should be trampled underfoot for a lifetime. Just then, my phone rang. The words "sorry" were displayed on the screen. My body couldn't help but tremble. It felt as if my whole body had been run over by a car, and I was in unbearable pain. Cold sweat broke out on my forehead instantly. After hesitating for a long time, I finally pressed the answer button. As soon as the call was connected, Sari's voice came with a hint of arrogance and dissatisfaction. "Wang Lin, what did you just come here to do?" I recalled my previous life. At this moment, Sari was still in front of me, pretending to be gentle and considerate, and never shouted loudly. She never called me by my name directly, which made me wonder if she had been reborn. And what she said next completely confirmed my guess. "Did you come over and say that Alex has AIDS?" He asked me to stay away from him and even forged the physical examination report. This was a trick from many years ago. You expect me to believe that? I advise you to stop your calculations. Otherwise, I'm sure I won't end up with you. I couldn't help but sneer. She was still the same as before, willing to do anything for Alex. But did she know that Alex was lying about having an incurable disease? But in fact, he was infected with HIV. I didn't want to expose myself so early, so I pretended not to know and took the initiative. "What do you mean by that? What AIDS?" "I just wanted to go and tell you that my dad is a bit against my marrying you right now." "Who would have thought that when I went there, you were actually doing that kind of thing with Alex in the room? Didn't you say he was just your brother?" "Sorry, you let me down so much." Sari was stunned by the question. These things never happened in the previous life. After all, Alex wasn't killed by me this time. She didn't want to break off with me directly, so she could only pretend to comfort me. Things weren't as you thought. Alex wasn't feeling well that I was just massaging his body just now. How could you just blame me without asking a word? Hearing the insincerity in her words and that hint of imperceptible disgust and impatience, I didn't get too annoyed. One didn't keep dwelling on it, but pretended to say something. How could I not believe it? But before my dad could finish speaking, Sari interrupted me. "Since your dad doesn't agree with us being together, it's a wedding. Let's call it off for now. A marriage without parents' blessings is doomed to be unhappy. Besides, Sari is seriously ill now. He said since he was a child that he would marry me when he grew up." I wanted to fulfill his wish before I could speak that he hung up the phone. That night, Sari and Alex were very happy to post photos of their engagement and announced that the wedding would be held a week later. It happened to be the same day that Sari and I were originally scheduled to get married. The time and place were the same, but the groom was changed to Alex. He didn't even pretend and couldn't wait to marry Alex. Later, Alex sent me a message asking me to be his best man. He also complained to me that he had few friends and could only turn to me. But I didn't think our relationship was good enough to be his best man. Not to mention that he snatched my woman, but I pretended not to notice. Early the next morning, while going to work at the hospital as usual, Sari called me several times, but I didn't answer any of them. At noon, my colleague and I went downstairs for lunch. When we came back, we saw Alex sitting in the hospital corridor from afar. LT was like an inflammation. I carefully gave him water and medicine, my eyes full of concern. What kind of illness did he have? I have to take so many medicines every day, but you still refuse to tell me. I just wish I could share your pain. Alex showed a slight symptom and his expression was a bit unnatural. What's the point of saying it? There's no cure for it. It can only make you worry in vain. I watched this scene and sneered to myself in my heart. I was afraid that his wish would soon come true. Seeing this, my colleague whispered in my ear, "That woman really loves him. She always accompanies him to the hospital to get medicine. What a pity. That man was diagnosed with AIDS at a young age. Otherwise, they would surely be very happy." Another colleague interrupted him disdainfully. What was there to be sorry about? He knew exactly how his illness came about. He had come to me for urology treatment countless times and finally managed to cure his sexually transmitted disease. Now he has contracted AIDS. Last time he kept it from me. It almost made me miss the chance to take the blocking medicine. I was so angry. By the way, recently, some AIDS patients, in order to take revenge on society, have tried every possible way to turn others into AIDS patients. This matter has even made the news. Be sure to tell the people around you to be careful. I nodded in agreement, lowered my eyes, and replied to the real estate manager's message, saying that the wedding house was no longer needed now. Of course, I couldn't take advantage of others. Just then, Sari saw me, walked towards me, and called me out. My colleague looked puzzled and asked what our relationship was. I smiled and didn't hide it. She was my ex-girlfriend. They both fell silent. Looking at me, there was a hint of sympathy in their eyes. I motioned for them to go back first. Then she turned around and asked Sari what was up. To her surprise, as soon as she opened her mouth, there was a flood of questioning. I called you so many times this morning. Why didn't you answer? I casually flipped through my phone and returned lightly. "Ls there any?" Perhaps she was too busy with the operation and didn't pay attention. The anger she had been holding back all morning ended up on the cotton, making her feel very bad. It was Alex's birth that broke the deadlock. Wang Linrian called mainly to ask me if I could be my best man. Although taking your bride away would make you very embarrassed, you know, I really don't know anyone here. The only person I can think of is you. I don't know what he thinks that LT was my own happy day, but I still wanted someone who didn't get along with me to be in the way. I immediately refused without hesitation. I was very busy and had no time. Alex's face instantly showed a look of disappointment upon hearing this. Sari, seeing this, immediately became unhappy and said with a look of disdain, "What's so busy with your lousy job? All you do is have surgeries and surgeries all day long." She then firmly stated, "Even if you ask for leave next week, you still have to go. It will delay my wedding with Alex. I won't let you go." That's just how she is. Whenever it comes to anything related to Alex, no one else pays her any attention. At least in the past, she would pretend a little. Now I don't even pretend anymore. I have no choice but to pretend to agree and then turn around and leave on the very day that there is an operation in the afternoon. I found a few strange messages in the WeChat moments where Alex announced his marriage, said Alex. Of course 3 do it. On the wedding day, I'll make them like us. I don't remember having any mutual friends with Alex. After checking the chat records, I found out that the person who sent the message was one of my former patients. Coincidentally, he later contracted AIDS and was detained for some reasons. Besides, what on earth does Alex mean by saying the same as him? I had a vague feeling that something was wrong, so I asked someone to check that person's criminal record. It turned out that he had been arrested and imprisoned in the past year for maliciously injecting the HIV virus into others. Coincidentally, Alex also had AIDS and knew him. After a series of analyses, a bold guess quietly took shape in my mind. To confirm my guess, I added that AIDS patient on a small trumpet, and after several days of testing, that I successfully infiltrated an ALDS transmission group. Through observation, all the people in the group were AIDS patients. They usually smears their blood on sharp objects and celebrate wildly in the group whenever someone is infected. Even so insane that they didn't spare even children. The group owner of this group turned out to be Alex. Just a second ago, he was still posting in the group. There's only 1 day left in the countdown. Tomorrow, I'll let everyone enjoy to their heart's content. How did that group of self-righteous normal people break the visit? Everyone in the group agreed. Alex is powerful. Wish you success. Since they look down on us, let them become like us. And that man who snatched your woman, you must let him taste the flavor of AIDS. Alex came back. Of course, Sari was mine. Since he dared to rob, I had to teach him a good lesson. Looking at these crazy words, my heart was pounding wildly. I really couldn't believe they could be distorted to such an extent. And Alex was even planning to infect me and others at tomorrow's wedding. I immediately called the police and got the money for them. Meanwhile, without alerting the snake, I made a plan. On the wedding day, I kept my promise to be Alex's best man. When Sari learned that I would attend, she went backstage to do her makeup with peace of mind. Alex, on the other hand, made an excuse that he was not in good health. He was supposed to rest in the lounge, but actually disappeared for a while. He had no idea that I had prepared a big gift for them in the Hotel IAB. Seeing that it was almost time to take the stage, Alex and the guests were nowhere to be found. Sari was extremely worried. She asked the hotel staff and learned that there was someone causing trouble downstairs. She hurriedly went downstairs that a security guard of unknown source stopped all the guests in the lobby. There was also a couple holding a banner, beating gongs and drums. The banner read, "Wish your girlfriend Sari success in leaving her fiancé and transferring her to the male mistress." Sari was furious and wanted to step forward to stop them. Suddenly, I saw myself on the other side. At this moment, I was standing on the stage, secretly dripping eye drops. Then, with tears streaming down my face, I cried out. My girlfriend of 5 years, in order to marry her childhood sweetheart, was willing to call off the engagement with me on the eve of the wedding. She even wanted to pick up a ready-made wedding venue. Who could bear this? Everyone was indignant about my name and scolded Sari for being indecent and duplicitous. There were also those who were close to Sari and didn't care at all. When they tried to go upstairs, they were always stopped by the security guards. Of course, most of them were just watching the spectacle. Seeing this, Sari rushed over and pulled me down from the stage, gritted her teeth and questioned me. "Wang Lin, what are you doing? Of course, you're just messing things up." She surely wouldn't think I was really a pushy target. After hurting me at will, still thinking of being happy with Alex until death. She's also qualified to perform the full set of acting roles. I imitated those male green tea characters on TV, looking at him with a pitiful expression. "Whatever I'm doing, 3 allow you to find someone else. I won't be allowed to be sad for a moment." Perhaps it was a rare sight for a grown man to shed tears, and more people joined in the fun, refusing to leave no matter what. One of them, an aunt in her 50s or 60s, followed along in agreement. "Sorry, we've watched you grow up too, even if you have a very good relationship with Alex. He is always a man. As a woman, you should have a sense of propriety. How can you marry this one today and that one tomorrow? Look, your man has been wronged," I added by the side, adding in a sarcastic tone. What was even more infuriating was that they still wanted me to be their best man. The crowd immediately booed, all accusing Sari of being a scoundrel. Sari looked fierce and was eventually forced to roar. "The person LV always wanted to marry has always been Alex. As for him, the one who's not loved is the mistress." She looked at me. "Your tone is so bad that you're not even as good as Alex's finger. If you don't want to attend this wedding, leave here right away. You're not welcome. If the wedding is delayed, don't blame me for doing anything." She was threatening me. Fortunately, it wasn't long before plainclothes police officers pushed Alex down from upstairs. Seeing that the goal was achieved, I didn't linger any longer and motioned for those who were beating the gongs and drums to withdraw. When Alex saw Sari, he undoubtedly saw a lifeline. He kept calling out to Sari to save him and even claimed that he was wronged. Sari had no idea what was going on and was just about to step forward to stop him when the police publicly announced in the next second that Alex was suspected of organizing a major HIV transmission activity. Now he needs to come back with us for investigation. How could that be? Sari simply doesn't believe it. In her eyes, Alex has always been a flawless man. How could he organize any virus-spreading activities, let alone if he really did that? Where does the virus come from? This was simply absurd. The people around didn't care about it and were immediately in an uproar. Some even shouted at her, "Sorry, how could you hide such a big thing from us? Are you trying to kill us? What kind of man are you looking for that has such a malicious mind and wants us to be infected with AIDS? Can't even you yourself have AIDS? This is just too terrifying. Anyway, I'm not daring to eat this meal. If I don't run away, I'm afraid I'll be poisoned." A group of people would rather have wheels on their feet and run out in a swarm, fearing that if they were too slow, they would be caught up by some dirty thing. While running, curse at bad luck. Seeing that Sari didn't believe it, the police specially showed him Alex's diagnosis record. This was provided by the hospital. Regarding Alex's AIDS diagnosis record, based on the information we have, he is indeed a major suspect now. If you have time, go to the hospital for a checkup as soon as possible and intervene earlier. Maybe there is still hope. Little did they know that Sari didn't listen at all. All her attention was focused on the diagnosis record. The name of the hospital was exactly the one I was in. Instantly, her anger flared up, rushed over and grabbed me. "Are these given to you by Wang Lin? These are all fake. Don't be fooled by him. Sari grabbed my wrist tightly and almost choked it into the flesh. Did you do it? I knew you wouldn't give up so easily. So you were waiting for me here. Hurry up and tell them that all of this was deliberately designed by you. How could Alex do such a thing? In her opinion, all of this was a trap I deliberately set up to prevent her from marrying Alex. Even the police officer in front of her might have been someone I found to pretend to be. After all, I have a gloomy and vicious nature. Have you ever had a criminal record? Looking at him in such a state, I sneered and shook off her hand. Believe it or not, it's up to you. What does it have to do with me? Seeing her stubbornly refusing to change, the police shook their heads helplessly. The proposal would take me to a safe place. I smiled and thanked them and followed them. However, Sari still would re. Now our wedding has been ruined by you. Are you satisfied? How come you are so despicable and never learn your lesson? Looking at those lines of words that seem to be swallowing me alive and lively, I can no longer suppress my hatred for you in my heart. What? Do you still want to tie me up and throw me on the highway as you did before? Sari was somewhat surprised. She didn't expect me to be reborn too, but still said rationally and assertively, that's your own fault. If you hadn't killed Alex, how could I have done this? Yes. So this time I didn't meddle in other people's business and just let her fend for herself. As for Alex, if you want to blame him for being too bold and self-destructive. And this is just the beginning. After returning that day, Sari either waited at home for Alex to come back or went to the police station to inquire for information. The news she got was undoubtedly bad. On her last visit, she was even told by the police that Alex had admitted his actions. In addition, his DNA and HIV virus were extracted from a batch of red wine seized at the wedding venue. All the evidence indicates that he is the mastermind behind this incident, seriously endangering social security, and will be sentenced. You don't need to come over again. You'd better hurry up and have a checkup. I heard that you two almost got married. AIDS can be fatal. Even if she were as calm as she could be, Sari now had to start to doubt. She immediately drove to several hospitals in the city and gave herself a thorough examination. The first hospital diagnosed her with AIDS, but she didn't believe it, thinking it was a misjudgment. It wasn't until the second hospital diagnosed the same. She still held out hope. Later, the third hospital, the fourth hospital, and all the other hospitals gave the same test result. She finally panicked. One problem had not yet subsided when another arose. Before Sari could recover from the shock of being infected with AIDS, bad news suddenly came from her company. It was said that the enterprise that had long provided funds for her company was suddenly going to cut off its investment in her. Now many of her clients had left. That enterprise was my father's. He also declared publicly that if any company dared to help Sari, he would never cooperate with that company again. Overnight, the company founded by Sari was on the verge of collapse. Most of the employees had left. Due to the impact of the Alex incident, the hotel had to close down to cooperate with the police investigation. Later, she even demanded a huge compensation from her. How could she afford it? She could only stay at home all day long and dared not go out. The only thing she could do was to frantically search online for the possibility of curing AIDS. However, the more she searched, the colder her heart grew. In the history of ALDS development, no one had ever been cured. Once she contracted this disease, she could only wait to die. That's why so many people went crazy and wanted to take revenge on society. Realizing this, that a wave of hatred welled up in Sari's heart. She even had the thought of killing Alex. At this moment, she was extremely regretful for not having believed me. If she had believed me, perhaps she wouldn't have to die. Every day, she was immersed in her own assumptions, which led to her mind starting to feel somewhat dazed. At the most severe point, she even had the illusion of blood flowing from all 7 orifices. One day, a group of burly men suddenly burst into her house. As soon as they entered, they started packing her luggage and tried to kick her out. She couldn't stop them at all and was eventually thrown out. She could only hold onto the suitcase that had been thrown out along with her and shout angrily with bloodshot eyes. What do you want to do? This is my house. The real estate manager gave the unkempt woman in front of him a faint glance and said disdainfully, "Sorry, Mr. Wong said someone had illegally occupied his house. Entrust us to drive the person away." Then he turned to direct the housekeeping work and said, "Be careful," Mr. Wong said. "There used to be AIDS patients living in this thing. Never get hurt. If you accidentally get infected, it can be fatal. Besides, disinfection must be thorough so that the house can be smoothly handed over to the next owner and wrapped up. I don't know which sentence hurt me. Sari didn't even ask for her luggage and left in a hurry without looking back. As soon as I came back from work, she stopped me at the entrance of the community. Her eyes were bloodshot and she begged me to save her. I pretended not to understand. What could I do to save you? Sari choked up that a humble expression appeared on his face. He humbly demanded, Wang Lin, my company is on the verge of going bankrupt. Could you please ask your father to be lenient and let it go? Besides, today, the property management staff came to my door and kicked me out. They said, you instructed me. You don't need that house. Can you let me stay for now? Besides, I was diagnosed with AIDS a few days ago. You are so rich. There must be a way to cure me, right? It seems that she even tried to hold my hand for fear that I wouldn't agree. She was so annoyed by me that she dodged her hand and awkwardly stopped in midair. Feeling a bit embarrassed, he paused for a moment and then continued, don't worry. As long as you are willing to save me, I'll marry you. Haven't you always wanted to marry me? Looking at her flattering and fawning face, I didn't feel a wave of nausea in my heart again. But at the same time, I felt more relieved and laughed out loud than ever before. What? Have you been diagnosed? Congratulations. Sari didn't expect me to laugh heartily after hearing about her experience, even congratulated her. Sari's heart was pricked by the smile at the corner of my mouth. But the smile at the corner of my mouth grew even bigger, even with a strong sense of mockery. But please don't come to disgust me. I'll wish you were dead right now. Why should I save you? Besides, you know in your heart whether this illness can be saved or not. Didn't you keep saying that you would live and die with Alex? Now that your wish has finally come true, you should be happy. Hearing this, Sari's face turned very bad. Realizing that I couldn't help her, she immediately changed her expression. He glared at me fiercely. Wang Lin, you knew it all along. Why didn't you stop me this time? I looked at her and just found her words funny. I listened myself. Was this human language? My eyes turned cold. You insist on causing trouble. Why should I stop you? Besides, didn't I stop you before? And I've told you more than once that Alex has AIDS, but you didn't believe it. Not only did you not believe it, but then what did you do to me later? The immense pain and fear of countless cars running over me, as well as the lives of my parents. All these events seem like they happened just yesterday to me. Every night, I dare not fall asleep, fearing that in my dreams, countless cars wheelie rush towards me and crush me until my flesh and blood are torn apart. Now she asks me why I don't help her. Why should I help? Could it be that Elle think my death wasn't ugly enough? Then again, if she hadn't cheated, how could she have fallen ill? Ultimately, all of this was her own doing. She surely wouldn't think that just because she had gone bankrupt or fallen ill, I could forgive her. This is nothing at all compared to the pain she has inflicted on me and my family. Sari was stunned. If she didn't have the memories of her previous life, it would have been fine. But she remembered all of them clearly. She knew she was in the wrong, but she couldn't accept it. Her good life was ruined like this. How could she accept this? So a crazy idea immediately sprang up in Sari's mind. Just when I thought she had vanished without a trace and hid somewhere else quietly waiting to die, she suddenly appeared and knocked me unconscious. Everything happened so suddenly. When I woke up, I found myself tightly bound by Sari with a hemp rope. Right beside was the highway she had designed to kill me in her previous life. Everything was almost exactly the same. The car roared past in front of me. All those bloody and jumbled images in my mind came to me in an instant. I tried to struggle to escape from here, but Sari had drugged me. I simply couldn't lift the slightest strength and could only curl up on the ground, watching helplessly as she pulled me onto the highway. I blinked my sour eyes and shouted at her, "Sari, you're crazy. Alex isn't dead this time. Why did you catch me here? Do you want to blame me for your AIDS? If you weren't being despicable yourself, would you have AIDS? Why did you take revenge on me by taking your own life?" I was extremely angry. I couldn't understand her thoughts at all. "Shut up." Sari interrupted me screaming. Her face was distorted and there was a crazy look in her eyes. "Who said I was seeking revenge on you?" The corners of her mouth lifted slightly, revealing an extremely strange smile. "I was just wondering if you just needed to die again. Then we can be resurrected again. So, Will you come with me to verify this matter? I looked at her in shock, really unable to understand why she had such a crazy idea. Did she think she was playing a game and could come back to life countless times? Perhaps. Madness and ferocity welled up in his eyes, but his tone was unusually calm. From the moment you didn't plan to save me, I had gone crazy, not just you, and your parents. Oh, and Alex. They will all come down to be with you after you die. Suddenly, she remembered something and muttered to herself. It seems that your body still needs to be sent to Alex for flower cultivation, but he's not dead yet. What if you decay? Immediately after that, he asked himself and achieved enlightenment. LT doesn't matter. I can find a freezer to freeze you first. The whole process felt as if someone else was talking to her. I watched this strange scene and felt a chill run down my spine. As Sari quickened the pace of his hand and moved me to the side of the highway, Elle heaved a sigh of relief. Then she suddenly exerted all her strength and pushed me into the traffic. See you in the next life, Wang Lin. Just at that critical moment, the honking of police cars came from both sides of the road. The vehicle that was supposed to run over me suddenly stopped in front of me. Before Sari could react, several people rushed out of the car at top speed and caught him. Others quickly held me back. At the same time, those police cars also pulled up in front of me. Besides the police getting off from above, my father was also there. Only then Didi realized that it was my father who called the police, and he had been reborn. T was even reborn earlier than I was. Fearing that the tragedy of the previous incident might happen again, he kept trying to prevent me from meeting Sari. But fate had it. And in the end, not only did I meet her, but I also insisted on marrying her as I did in my previous life, even going so far as to elope with her. Everything was moving along the predestined path. Just when my dad thought this disaster couldn't be avoided, things took a turn for the better. That day, for the first time ever, I voluntarily proposed that I no longer wanted to marry Sari and even asked him to withdraw all his investments in her. At that moment, he realized that I had been reborn. To avoid all that, he began to send more people around me to protect my safety. At the same time, he cooperated with me to take down all of Sari's support, so that she had no ability to cause trouble. But in the end, he underestimated Sari's madness. One oversight actually led her to tie me up here again, almost causing me a second injury. Fortunately, he had always sent someone to keep an eye on Sari's movements. Only then could they know my exact location in such a short time and cooperate with the police to rescue me. At this moment, my mother also came over upon hearing the news, telling me that E was safe and sound. She was so overjoyed that she burst into tears and held me tightly, refusing to let go. As long as I was fine, that was all that mattered. It's good that I'm fine, but there's still one thing that worries me. Sari just scratched a wound on me when he was dragging me onto the highway. The wound wasn't big, but just in case, I still went to the hospital for a thorough examination and took a set of medicine. It wasn't until the test results came out, and I saw no problem, that I finally felt relieved. As for Sari, it is said that after being captured by the police and taken back, she was diagnosed with schizophrenia. On her way to the mental hospital, she took advantage of running around and finally jumped off the rooftop dozens of meters high. Before her death, she kept saying that she wanted to come back to life once more. But life doesn't offer that many chances to start anew. This jump of hers undoubtedly wiped herself out completely. But none of these have anything to do with me. I finally survived with great difficulty. My only wish is for my family to be healthy.